Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Cosmic Blueprints Astrology. I'm Sino, and today we're exploring one of the most misunderstood and feared planets in astrology, Saturn, the Great Teacher. Saturn has a reputation problem. When people hear about Saturn, they often think of limitation, hardship, restriction, and karmic lessons. And while Saturn does govern these challenging areas, this planet is so much more than cosmic punishments. Saturn is your greatest teacher, your source of mastery, your path to authentic achievement, and the force that transforms you from potential into reality. Think of Saturn as the stern but caring mentor who sees your potential and refuses to let you settle for less. Saturn doesn't make things easy, it makes things worthwhile. It teaches through experience, builds through effort, and rewards through time and discipline. In this video, we'll explore Saturn's rich mythology and symbolism, what Saturn reveals in your birth chart, how it expresses through each zodiac sign, Saturn's aspects with other planets, the famous Saturn return and retrograde cycles, and how to work with Saturn energy to build lasting success. Whether Saturn currently feels like your enemy or your ally, this comprehensive guide will help you understand and harness the power of the great teacher. Let's journey into the profound world of Saturn. Saturn takes its name from the Roman god of agriculture, time, and harvest, known as Cronus in Greek mythology. The story of Cronus is both tragic and instructive. He overthrew his father Uranus to rule the cosmos, then, fearing the same fate, devoured his own children. Eventually, his son Zeus, or Jupiter, escaped and dethroned him, just as prophesied. This myth reveals Saturn's core themes: time, cycles, fear, control, and the inevitable progression of change. Saturn represents the anxiety that comes from knowing nothing lasts forever, the desire to control outcomes, and the wisdom that comes from accepting life's natural limitations. But here's what's often forgotten. Before his downfall, Cronus ruled during the Golden Age, a time of peace, abundance, and harmony. This shows us Saturn's positive potential. When we work with time rather than against it, when we accept necessary limits, Saturn becomes the architect of golden ages in our own lives. Visually, Saturn is unmistakable with its magnificent rings. These rings symbolize Saturn's function in astrology: boundaries, structure, and definition. The rings separate Saturn from everything else, just as Saturn in your chart shows where you must create boundaries and define yourself clearly. Saturn is the last planet visible to the naked eye, representing the boundary between the personal realm and the collective outer planets. It's the final test before you move into transpersonal consciousness. Saturn asks, have you mastered yourself? Have you built something real? Are you ready for what lies ahead? Astrologically, Saturn is a social planet, taking approximately 28 to 30 years to complete one full cycle through the zodiac. It spends roughly 2.5 years in each sign. This lengthy transit means Saturn's lessons have time to sink in deeply, building foundations that last. Saturn rules 2 signs: Capricorn, where it expresses itself through ambition, structure, and worldly achievements, and traditionally Aquarius, where it manifests through social responsibility, innovation within structure, and collective governance. In modern astrology, Uranus co-rules Aquarius, but Saturn maintains strong influence there. Saturn's placement in your birth chart reveals some of the most important information about your life path, challenges, and ultimate achievements. Let's explore what Saturn governs. First, Saturn represents limitation, restriction, and boundaries. This isn't punishments, it's definition. Just as a river needs banks to flow powerfully, you need Saturn's boundaries to channel your energy effectively. Saturn shows where you encounter limits, where you must work within constraints, and where saying no is essential. These limitations aren't meant to stop you, they're meant to focus you. Second, Saturn governs time, patience, and maturity. Saturn is chronological time, the unstoppable march of moments that turns potential into history. Saturn teaches that everything worthwhile takes time. Quick fixes fail. Sustainable success requires patience. Your Saturn placement shows where you must embrace delayed gratification and where maturity comes slowly but surely. Third, Saturn rules discipline, responsibility, and duty. This planet asks, what are you committed to? What responsibilities will you honor even if it's difficult? Where will you show up consistently? Saturn represents the adult in you, the part that does what must be done regardless of mood or preference. Fourth, Saturn represents fear, inadequacy, and insecurity. Here's Saturn's shadow. Wherever Saturn sits in your chart, you often feel not enough. You doubt yourself, fear failure, and worry about judgment. Saturn points to your deepest insecurities, but here's the secret. These fears are the roadmap to your greatest mastery. What you fear, you must master. Fifth, Saturn governs structure, organization, and systems. This planet loves order, hierarchy, rules, and frameworks. Saturn builds things that last by creating solid foundations and logical structures. It represents governments, corporations, traditions, and any established system designed to endure time. Sixth, Saturn rules authority, wisdom, and mastery. Saturn is the elder, the expert, the authority earned through experience. This planet governs your relationship with authority figures and your own journey toward becoming an authority. Saturn's wisdom isn't book learning. It's hard-won understanding gained through trial, error, and persistence. And seventh, Saturn represents karma, consequences, and cosmic justice. Saturn is often called the karmic taskmaster because it insists on accountability. Actions have consequences. Shortcuts fail eventually. Reality doesn't care about excuses. Saturn teaches through natural consequences. And while this can be harsh, it's ultimately fair. You reap what you sow under Saturn's watch. The house placement of Saturn shows the life area where you face the most challenges, where you must work hardest, and ultimately where you can achieve the most lasting success. The sign Saturn occupies reveals how you approach responsibility and what kind of structure you need. Saturn's aspects show how easily or difficultly you access discipline and whether your relationship with authority is supportive or challenging. A well-integrated Saturn gives you resilience, wisdom, patience, and the ability to achieve lasting success. A struggling Saturn might manifest as fear-based limitation, harsh self-criticism, or avoidance of responsibility. But here's the promise. Saturn always rewards genuine effort given enough time. And now let's explore how Saturn expresses itself through each zodiac sign. Remember, this is your Saturn sign specifically, which shapes how you approach responsibility and where you build mastery. Saturn in Aries, or the first house. Saturn in Aries struggles initially because Saturn's caution conflicts with Aries' impulse. These individuals must learn patient courage and disciplined initiative. They fear taking action or appearing weak, so they either rush recklessly or freeze entirely. Their lesson is developing sustainable courage, not impulsive bravery, but consistent initiative over time. Once mastered, they become pioneers who combine boldness with wisdom, leaders who act decisively but responsibly. They learn that true strength includes knowing when to wait. Saturn in Taurus, or the second house. Saturn in Taurus is grounded and persistent. These individuals build security slowly and methodically. They may fear lack, poverty, or instability, leading to excessive caution around resources. They struggle with rigidity and resistance to change. Their lesson is understanding that true security comes from internal resilience, not just material accumulation. Once mastered, they create enduring wealth and stability, becoming masters of sustainable resource management. They learn that flexibility doesn't threaten security, it enhances it. Saturn in Gemini or the third house. Saturn in Gemini creates serious, disciplined thinking. These individuals may fear being misunderstood, appearing ignorant, or their ideas being dismissed. They struggle with communication anxiety and may become overly rigid in their thinking. Their lesson is developing intellectual authority while remaining curious and adaptable. Once mastered, they become excellent teachers, writers, and communicators who convey complex information clearly. They learn that admitting I don't know is strength, not weakness. Saturn in Cancer or the fourth house. Saturn in Cancer is in fall, meaning Saturn struggles here. Why? Cancer is emotional and nurturing, while Saturn is structured and distant. These individuals may fear emotional vulnerability, abandonment, or being unloved. They struggle with allowing themselves to need others or express feelings. Their lesson is building emotional maturity, creating security through healthy emotional boundaries rather than walls. Once mastered, they become wise caregivers who nurture responsibly without losing themselves. They learn that emotional strength includes vulnerability. Saturn in Leo or the fifth house. Saturn in Leo creates tension between the need for recognition and fear of inadequacy. These individuals may fear invisibility, rejection, or their creative expression being judged. They struggle with pride and may suppress their natural radiance. Their lesson is developing authentic authority and creative mastery while releasing the need for constant validation. Once mastered, they become dignified leaders and accomplished creators whose work speaks for itself. They learn that true royalty needs no crown. Saturn in Virgo or the sixth house. Saturn in Virgo is detail-oriented and perfectionistic. These individuals fear incompetence, mistakes, and being criticized. They struggle with excessive self-criticism and may become paralyzed by perfectionism. Their lesson is understanding that excellence doesn't require perfection and that flaws are human, not failures. Once mastered, they become experts in their fields, masters of craft and efficiency. They learn that good enough is exactly enough. Saturn in Libra or the seventh house. Saturn in Libra is exalted, meaning Saturn operates powerfully here. Libra's balance complements Saturn's structure beautifully. These individuals take relationships seriously and build partnerships carefully. They may fear conflict, rejection, or being alone. Their lesson is developing mature partnership skills, fairness, commitment, and diplomatic strength. Once mastered, they create lasting relationships and become excellent mediators and counselors. They learn that healthy relationships include healthy boundaries. Saturn in Scorpio or the eighth house. Saturn in Scorpio is intense and transformative. These individuals face deep fears around power, loss, betrayal, and emotional intensity. They struggle with trust and control issues. Their lesson is embracing transformation and releasing the need to control outcomes. Once mastered, they develop profound psychological wisdom and regenerative power. They become masters of depth work, transformation, and emotional alchemy. They learn that surrendering control is the ultimate power. Saturn in Sagittarius or the ninth house. Saturn in Sagittarius restricts the sign that wants freedom. These individuals may fear being trapped, losing meaning, or their beliefs being wrong. They struggle between needing structure and craving freedom. Their lesson is developing disciplined wisdom, creating philosophical frameworks that provide meaning without dogmatism. Once mastered, they become wise teachers, ethical leaders, and philosophers who've earned their wisdom through experience. They learn that true freedom exists within conscious boundaries. Saturn in Capricorn or the 10th house. Saturn in Capricorn is at home, operating at peak strength. These individuals are natural authorities who understand structure, hierarchy, and long-term planning. They may fear failure, inadequacy, or losing status. They can become workaholic or overly ambitious. Their lesson is using their natural authority responsibly, and remembering success includes joy, not just achievements. Once mastered, they build empires, creating lasting legacies and becoming respected authorities. They learn that the summit is sweetest when the climb was purposeful. Saturn in Aquarius, or the 11th house. Saturn in Aquarius is in its traditional home, co-ruled with Uranus in modern astrology. These individuals take social responsibilities seriously and work toward collective progress. They may fear rejection from their community or being too different. They struggle between conformity and rebellion. Their lesson is developing innovative responsibility, creating new structures that serve the collective while maintaining individuality. Once mastered, they become social architects and humanitarian leaders. They learn that true revolution requires structures to endure. Saturn in Pisces, or the 12th house. Saturn in Pisces is ethereal Saturn, which feels contradictory. These individuals face fears around boundaries, reality, and separation. They struggle with escapism, victimhood, or feeling overwhelmed by suffering. Their lesson is developing spiritual discipline, creating structure within flow, boundaries within compassion. Once mastered, they become spiritual teachers, healers, and artists who channel transcendent wisdom into practical form. They learn that compassion without boundaries helps no one. Saturn's aspects to other planets create some of the most defining dynamics in your chart. These aspects shape how you experience limitation, responsibility, and growth. Saturn's Sun aspects connect your core identity with discipline and limitation. Harmonious aspects create natural self-discipline, reliability, and strong personal authority. These people take themselves seriously in healthy ways. Challenging aspects, especially the conjunction, square, or opposition, can manifest as low self-esteem, harsh self-criticism, or feeling blocked from shining. The father relationship is often significant. The lesson is developing authentic self-authority rather than seeking external validation. Saturn-Moon aspects link emotions with restriction and responsibility. Harmonious aspects create emotional maturity, self-sufficiency, and the ability to nurture responsibly. Challenging aspects can manifest as emotional coldness, difficulty expressing feelings, or feeling emotionally deprived. Often there's a serious or distant relationship with the mother. The lesson is allowing emotional needs while maintaining healthy boundaries. Saturn-Mercury aspects connect thinking with structure and discipline. Harmonious aspects give methodical thinking, intellectual depth, and serious communication. Challenging aspects can create mental blocks, learning difficulties, or negative thought patterns. These individuals may fear speaking up or being judged intellectually. The lesson is developing mental authority and trusting one's intelligence. Saturn-Venus aspects blend love with limitation and responsibility. Harmonious aspects create loyal, committed relationships and serious artistic discipline. Challenging aspects can manifest as feeling unlovable, relationship fears, or difficulty receiving pleasure. These individuals may choose duty over joy or struggle with self-worth. The lesson is learning that love includes responsibility but shouldn't feel like a burden. Saturn-Mars aspects create friction between action and restraint. Harmonious aspects give controlled energy, strategic action, and endurance. Challenging aspects can manifest as blocked energy, frustration, anger suppression, or harsh self-discipline. These individuals alternate between pushing too hard and stopping entirely. The lesson is channeling ambition with patience and taking suitable action. Saturn-Jupiter aspects represent the cosmic tension between expansion and contraction. Harmonious aspects create balanced growth, optimism tempered with realism, and expansion built on solid foundations. Challenging aspects create cycles of overextension, followed by limitation or pessimism, blocking opportunities. The lesson is integrating faith with responsibility, believing while planning. Saturn-Uranus aspects combine structure with disruption. Harmonious aspects can innovate within systems and create lasting change. Challenging aspects create tension between security needs and freedom urges, tradition and rebellion. Life may bring sudden restrictions or chaotic disruptions to structures. The lesson is building flexible structures that can adapt without collapsing. Saturn-Neptune aspects blend reality with dreams, boundaries with disillusion. Harmonious aspects can manifest ideals practically and bring spiritual discipline. Challenging aspects create confusion between reality and fantasy, difficulty with boundaries, or dreams crushed by reality. The lesson is grounding spiritual wisdom into earthly form without losing magic. Saturn-Pluto aspects combine structure with transformation and power. These are heavy aspects, creating intense pressure, deep fears, and tremendous transformation potential. Harmonious aspects give resilient power and the ability to rebuild from nothing. Challenging aspects can manifest as power struggles, control issues, or destructive limitation. The lesson is surrendering to necessary transformation while maintaining integrity. The Saturn retrograde is astrology's most famous transit. It occurs when Saturn returns to the exact position it occupied at your birth, happening approximately every 29 years. Most people experience their first Saturn return between ages 27 and 30, their second around 56 and 60, and if blessed with longevity, the third around 85 and 90. The Saturn return is a cosmic graduation ceremony, but you must pass the test first. During this period, everything in your life that isn't built on authentic foundations begins to crumble. Relationships, careers, living situations, beliefs. If they're not truly aligned with your soul's purpose, Saturn will remove them or force transformation. This sounds terrifying and it can be challenging, but the Saturn return is ultimately liberating. It strips away what isn't serving you and crystallizes what is. You emerge with clarity, maturity, and foundations for the next 29 years. The first Saturn return marks your transition into full adulthood. The second marks your transition into elder wisdom. Saturn retrograde occurs approximately once a year for about 4.5 months. During this period, Saturn's lessons turn inward. External structures may seem to pause or regress while you internally reassess your responsibilities, commitments, and relationship with authority. Saturn retrograde is perfect for reviewing your progress, reworking foundations, and correcting course before moving forward again. It's not a time to launch major initiatives, but to strengthen what you've already built. If you were born with Saturn retrograde in your natal chart, you have an internalized relationship with authority and discipline. Often, these individuals resist external authority and must develop their own internal structures. They may struggle with self-discipline early in life, but once mastered, develop profound inner authority. They're learning lessons about power, responsibility, and limitation from past lives, and must approach these themes with consciousness and integrity. Saturn is the most demanding teacher, but also your most rewarding one. Here's how to work consciously with Saturn energy. First, embrace responsibility rather than resisting it. Saturn's burdens become lighter when you stop fighting them. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Identify your legitimate responsibilities and commit to them fully. This paradoxically creates more freedom than avoidance ever could. Second, develop patience and long-term thinking. Saturn operates on geological timescales. Plant seeds today for harvests years from now. Stop seeking instant gratification. Ask yourself, what am I building that matters in 10 years? Then commit to that vision consistently. Third, face your fears directly. Saturn's fears don't disappear when ignored, they grow. What you fear shows what you need to master. Identify your Saturn-related fears and systematically work to develop competence in those areas. Mastery dissolves fear. Fourth, create sustainable structures and routines. Saturn loves consistency. Build daily practices, systems, and structures that support your goals. Small actions repeated over time create extraordinary results. This is Saturn's magic. Compounding effort yields exponential growth. Fifth, honor your limitations and set boundaries. Saturn teaches wise resource allocation. Say no to what doesn't serve your mission. Protect your time, energy, and focus. Boundaries aren't walls, they're the containers for your power. Sixth, work with mentors and become one. Saturn governs the mentor-student relationship. Seek wise teachers who've mastered what you're learning. Later, become the mentor for others. Wisdom flows through generations, and Saturn is that flow. Seventh, commit to mastery, not dabbling. Saturn rewards depth over breadth. Choose your mountain and climb it. Become excellent at something that matters. 10,000 hours of focused practice. That's Saturn's path to mastery and authority. Eighth, practice self-discipline and delayed gratification. Train yourself to choose long-term gain over short-term pleasure. This doesn't mean joylessness. It means conscious choice. Can you do what needs doing even when you don't feel like it? That's Saturn's power. Ninth, respect time and use it wisely. You have limited time. Saturn knows this. Every moment spent is gone forever. This isn't depressing, it's clarifying. What deserves your precious time? Spend it there. And finally, learn from consequences and failures. Saturn doesn't punish, it teaches through natural consequences. When things fall apart, ask, what is this teaching me? Failure isn't final, it's feedback. Adjust, integrate the lesson, and continue building. Saturn is your greatest teacher, the force that transforms potential into mastery, dreams into reality, and youth into wisdom. Yes, Saturn is demanding. Yes, Saturn's lessons are challenging. But Saturn is also the planet that gives you everything you've truly earned. Understanding your Saturn placement reveals your deepest challenges and greatest potential for achievement. It shows where life asks you to grow up, step up, and build something lasting. Whether your Saturn is in ambitious Capricorn or compassionate Pisces, structured Virgo or revolutionary Aquarius, it's showing you the path to authentic authority in your life. Remember, Saturn doesn't deny you anything except mediocrity. Every limitation is an invitation to mastery. Every fear points towards your greatest strength. Every responsibility accepted is power reclaimed. When you work with Saturn consciously, with patience, discipline, and commitment, you build a life that withstands time's test. Thank you for watching Cosmic Blueprints Astrology. If this deep dive into Saturn has given you clarity and direction, please like this video and subscribe for more comprehensive planetary guides. Comment below with your Saturn sign and share your relationship with the great teacher. I'd love to hear how Saturn is shaping your journey toward mastery. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, beautiful souls, and keep well.